All right, video number 4 for the minerals for my sports nutrition class. I forgot this in the last video. And look, all pretty much good sources of zinc. I don't know about maple syrup. I've never heard that before. Yeah, mushrooms are a weird one. Mushrooms are also a good source of like manganese and copper. Mushrooms are weird. They are a weird one. I don't know why maple syrup would have a lot of zinc unless it's involved in the processing of the syrup at in the old school sugar shacks that would use things like tin and galvanized metal, which is like metal that's covered in zinc so it doesn't rust. I wonder about that. Okay, iodine. So these last bunch of ones are very small in terms of what you need from the diet. Now we're talking micrograms, not milligrams. That's a thousandth of a gram. Microgram is a millionth of a gram. You don't need a lot of iodine, and yet many people on the planet still have iodine deficiency. So mostly what you need it for is to make thyroid hormone. It's called thyroxine. There's actually two kinds of thyroxine in the blood, T3 and T4, and the 3 and the 4 referred to the number of iodine atoms attached to the molecule. So T4 would have 4 iodines. Now the thing about iodine is it's in animal tissue easily because the animals are accumulating it. But if you're not eating animals, then you better be getting it from either seafood or you hope it's in the soil because the soil can or cannot have a lot of iodine. In the US, we have soil in parts of this country that don't have a lot of iodine. So if you grew spinach or wheat or whatever, you would really be unable to get iodine from those foods. So what do? We add iodine to salt. That's generally how we do it. Iodize salt. You can buy salt without iodine, kosher salt, which people do use in canning. And I think the iodine makes things metallic. I'd have to research that. I don't know why I'm saying that in my video lecture, but I think there's a reason why kosher salt does not have iodine. We don't see iodine deficiency in the US. It's really hard to see because generally our salt has iodine. It's spread around. You do find it around the world. The deficiency is not labeled up here, and I don't know why it isn't. It's not. It's called goiter. Here it is, right here, goiter. It's an enlargement of your thyroid. Can this go away with iodine treatment? At some point, even if you take iodine, this change in the structure of the thyroid will leave you with it's called goiter, and that's called a goiter. So again, not very common, certainly common back in the day. And it is common in parts of the world that don't have access to iodized salt from Walmart or Target, and there's not a lot of iodine in the soil. Toxicity, generally not from food, not even from supplements, usually from things like environmental exposure and things like that. Fluoride is another one of these tricky ones. There is no RDA for fluoride. There is an AI, an amount we think is good. And we don't know how much you need, right? 4 milligrams, maybe, maybe not. 3, maybe. Do you brush your teeth? So for many of us, we're going to get fluoride from tap water. I think it's 1 part per million. From when you brush your teeth, that means you brush, you spit. Some indirect swallowing will help you get fluoride from which was in the toothpaste, which is now hanging out in your mouth. It gets into your body, gets into your bloodstream, and then it is packaged into your bone tissue. The way fluoride works is interesting. It doesn't really make your teeth stronger. It makes them more resistant to bacterial decay. Imagine food on your teeth during the day, bacteria eating the food, essentially pooping out acid, and that eats your teeth. When you have more fluoride in your dental structure, it's more resistant. Now, there's lots of different, there's some sources of fluoride in nature. By the way, some parts of the U.S. have too much fluoride, and so you have to be very careful from using the groundwater. But generally speaking, there's enough to go around in food, along with what you're getting from brushing your teeth. Can you get too much? You can. It's called fluorosis, and I don't know a lot about glassware. I like bakeware, but people who collect glassware like wine stems and crystal Crystals are basically glass that has lead in it. And the degree of lead has all sorts of effects in the crystal. If you get too much lead in crystal, it'll change the structure of the crystal. It's kind of like fluoride in teeth. Too much fluoride makes them from going resistant to decay to brittle and colored. And the term they use is pitted. You get pitting, and you can see big giant pitting in this photo, but it's at the microscopic level. The way you don't get fluorosis is you don't overbrush, you don't swallow toothpaste, and you be careful of environmental exposure to fluoride from groundwater. And the last one is selenium. Selenium is another one in very small amounts, again, micrograms. Selenium is kind of like iodine. It's got to be in the soil. If it's not in the soil, you can live in a part of the world like Keshan province of China, which is basically selenium deficient. If you're not eating a lot of animal tissues, it's not added to your food as a fortification, you will develop problems. So it is needed for your immunity. It's needed for antioxidant. It's also needed to maintain heart health. We know that if you don't get enough selenium, you'll develop, or you can develop, Keshan's disease. It is a scarring of the heart. This can occur in animals. It can occur in sheep. Farmers in California and some of our counties do have to use supplements for their feed because there's not enough selenium in the soil. And when they have their sheep free range, there's not enough selenium in the grass. That said, it's fairly rare. Do we get enough from food? That is a debate that's been going on long before John was ever on the earth. We may not. It could be that we have been growing food on the same soil for 200 years and we have depleted the soil of selenium. That is a very common argument among nutrition folks. Should you take a supplement? Not a doctor, not an MD, but one could argue the standard Centrum multivitamin, multimineral has just enough selenium that you need in a balanced amount of all the other minerals you're taking. So that would be my recommendation on that, or my non-recommendation, my statement. Can you get toxicity? Yes, typically from individual supplements, which you shouldn't take, and then environmental exposure. It can cause nerve damage and things like that. And then I have copper at the end. I don't think I quiz you on copper. Copper is a weird one. It's important for using iron in the body. It's important for heart development during pregnancy. It's kind of like zinc. It's kind of like niacin. If there's protein in the food, there should be copper. So you're looking at your protein sources in the plants and a lot of your seafood. And deficiency is really rare. Toxicity is genetic. The thing about copper is it's hard to know if people aren't getting enough. We routinely don't test for it. Could it be that pregnant women don't get enough copper in their diet? That could be a thing. Babies that are born with heart malformations look like the kind of malformations you find in animals that are fed, in their offspring of animals fed copper deficient diets. Having said that, though, prenatals today now have copper added to them. So whatever research was done was enough to freak out the Centrum people. And now you find omega-3s, you find selenium, you find copper. There's lots of stuff now in the prenatals to cover everything we know and everything we don't know. I think that's it. That's it for the minerals.